Welcome back, it's Ryzen, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a spoiler-free review of Fire Punch. Fire Punch is a manga series written by Tatsuki Fujimoto, and it is the predecessor to Chainsaw Man, one of my favorite manga of all time. Going into this manga, I expected a series similar to Chainsaw Man. I envisioned a cool hero with fire powers who fire punched bad guys and saved the world, and man was I wrong. This series takes any and all expectations you have and completely shatters them, for good and occasionally for bad. But before I get into some of the issues that I have with this series, we need to address the fundamentals. Fire Punch takes place in a world that has been completely frozen over. The survivors of this world live in absolutely terrible conditions. There is no way to grow food as the land has grown almost entirely infertile, and hunting has proven to be less and less effective due to the extinction of nearly every animal. In addition to this, a small percentage of the population are given supernatural abilities. These abilities are incredibly simplistic and usually serve specific purposes, which I will get into some other time because if you know, you know. Anyways, as you'd imagine, the people of this world are complete savages. Innocent, small communities get trampled by massive societies of ruthless and just truly deplorable people. Just by nature of everybody's primary goal being survival, we immediately delve into some of the main themes of this series. At what point does humanity become so corrupt that we lose what makes us human? What makes life worth living if all that lies ahead is pain and suffering? Questions like this will run rampant in your head as you're reading Fire Punch. The main character Agni feels like a physical manifestation of these questions. Throughout the entirety of the story, his perception of the world and just the meaning on life as a whole changes constantly. It sounds like a rather basic and simplistic premise, but the execution and delivery of these philosophical themes are superb. It is hard to accurately describe Agni without spoiling the first chapter, which is truly best experienced on a blind read, so please forgive me if I sound vague when depicting him, but I will try my best. Agni is a man who lives in constant pain and suffering. An unquenchable flame has been cast upon him, and due to his regenerative abilities, he cannot die from it. The fire engulfs him, and he lives every waking moment in pure agony. There are many other series that go to great lengths to depict the suffering of a character, but none really achieve what Fire Punch manages to do. With characters like Eren Yeager, you tend to eventually stop sympathizing with his trauma. As harsh as it sounds, you eventually want him to get over the death of his mother and just stop crying about it. But with Agni, you're constantly heartbroken for him. I have never felt the way I feel towards Agni towards any other character. Surprisingly, I never felt any positive emotion towards him at all. He was never once likable, intelligent, cool, or any other trait that you would want your protagonist to have. Watching the people around him warp and twist his mind truly broke me one page at a time. Seeing people tell him to keep living through his pain made my heart sink and my jaw drop every single time without fail. Seeing the way he behaves and the paths he takes makes me genuinely hate him, but at the same time truly pity him, just because he's a product of this really messed up world. I really cannot do this character justice without spoiling the plot, so I intend on doing a full character analysis video focused only on him, so for now we can move on. In terms of antagonistic presence, it really feels like every single character in the entire manga is an antagonist. It really messes with your head until you come to grips with the fact that in this world of Fire Punch, there really is no right or wrong, simply just survival. As I mentioned earlier, the themes that stem from this central idea are incredibly thought-provoking, but Fire Punch actually goes a step further and treads through the territories that most manga would never enter. We get to see humanity at its absolute worst: rape, incest, bestiality, cannibalism, suicide, torture, you name it. While some of these concepts are obviously used to portray inexcusable acts, others, specifically suicide and cannibalism, are seemingly justified by the manga. The series tends to play with these ideas of tolerance and nihilism. How much can you tolerate until life simply isn't worth it anymore? If it came down to it, is life worth being a cannibal for? This show forces these questions into your brain for every possible evil concept, and for a manga so grotesque, it is probably the most thought-provoking work I have read in a while. This is stretched on to the point where some of the characters' reasons for living are so incredibly ridiculous that they become actual memes. Speaking of memes, the comedy in this manga actually misses pretty hard for me. It can basically be produced profanity and edginess for the sake of profanity and edginess. For example, at one point a character is teaching Agni English and she only teaches him the most offensive and inappropriate words possible. While it wasn't really my cup of tea, I understood why it was included. It honestly added to this that overall effect of the "what the hell am I reading" feeling that you get every couple of chapters. As for my criticism, I need to bring up the major tone shift that happens at the second half of the show. Everything changes completely and the story ends up feeling seemingly very disjointed. An already overwhelming and sometimes confusing plot just ends up feeling convoluted and nonsensical towards the second half. It feels like Fujimoto had so many incredible ideas and he tried to fit them all into the story as quickly as possible. Character arcs that were built up were cut short, and overall I felt like there was a lot of lost potential. The ending as a whole was pretty anticlimactic as well. These issues do not ruin Fire Punch, but they definitely worsen what could have been an absolute masterpiece. As for my concluding remarks, overall I would give the first half a 9 out of 10 and the second half an 8 out of 10, averaging it to a total of 8.5 out of 10. Some people may question this because I gave Rent a Girlfriend an 8.5, but this manga does not even compare to Rent a Girlfriend. My scale for a 12 episode unfinished romance anime is completely different to my scale for an 82 chapter dark fantasy manga, and Fire Punch is obviously the much better work. With that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching to the end of this video. Again, I intend on making a full in-depth character analysis on Agni, which will be up next week, and also a character tier list, which will be up the week after that, which will allow me to talk about the other characters I liked as well. There is so much I didn't cover, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos. Additionally, you may have noticed this video is edited a little bit different. I tried using a bit more of a simplistic style. I'm just kind of trying to try new editing styles, and hopefully I find one that sticks with me, just kind of experimenting a little bit. But yeah, that's really about it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you thought of Fire Punch in the comments below. Thank you so much for making it to the end again, and yeah, see you guys later. Goodbye.